very young children, 2 or 3 years old, often begin to ask the question, why? And sometimes they even ask the question, why am I here? Or if they get the idea of life, they say, why am I alive? And because people don't know how to answer these questions, they put them off with foolish answers, and soon children stop asking the question why. Probably they don't grasp the depth and difficulty of the question why, but that they ask it is an indication that somewhere deep down in us, this question why is there even before we begin to think, even before we are taught anything about ourselves and the world. But this question why gets covered up, and very few people continue to pursue it. The man about whom I'm going to speak tonight, that is George Gurdjieff, never gave up seeking for the answer to the question why. And it is that that gives him a peculiar significance for our present time. As time went on, the simple question, why am I alive, took the form of, why is there life on the earth? What is this life on the earth? And in particular, what is our human life? What is its purpose? What is it for? Now this question, what is life for, is much more unusual than you might at first notice. Because generally we've already been put off this question, either by being told that God made it, and it is God's business, and God alone knows, and it is not our business to inquire, or else that there is no other meaning and purpose to life except what we people bring into it, that if there are purposes, they're all man-made purposes. And therefore, the answer to the question, why do we exist, is to satisfy our own purposes as they arise in us. The second kind of answer has come to be preferred in recent centuries, and is really the one that is preferred at the present time. That any question, what is the sense and aim of life, must be taken as a man-made question which will have a man-made answer, and we can virtually make whatever answer we choose. But if we are not satisfied with that, if we can see that there is something that cannot be right in the belief that the purpose of life on the earth is something man-made, then we come up against a new way of looking at the world and life. And it is that new way of looking that makes Gurdjieff's contribution distinctive. If there is a sense and purpose in human life that can be understood, that we have a part to play in fulfilling, and if this applies also to human life, then this purpose must have something to do with this earth, perhaps of this solar system, of this world in which we live. And we should search for this answer not by going beyond the world altogether, but by looking at the world in a different way. That is, instead of looking at the world as having arisen either through the action of blind causes or by a divine decree coming from outside the world altogether, but as having come into being, having been designed and organized for purposes that correspond to the size and significance of this solar system within the whole universe. So long as people could think that this earth was the center of the universe, and that at any rate this solar system of ours was the central and most important mode of existence in the universe, we could think that all purposes were the same as the purposes of this earth and this existence of life on the earth. One of the most important changes in our view of the world has been due to the discovery that this solar system is a very insignificant part of the whole universe, and that it would be quite absurd to think that the purposes within the solar system can be the same as the purposes within the universe as a whole, and that we can say that the purposes of the universe are and are likely to remain inscrutable to us. But this may not be the case if we're prepared to look at this solar system itself. But then we have to face something, and that is that this purpose must be limited, because this solar system is a limited, minute part of the whole universe. And that brings us in front of the idea that there can be purposes which are greater than human purposes, and yet are very much less, infinitesimal, compared with universal purposes. And it was that kind of reasoning that led Gurdjieff to ask this question: what is the sense and purpose of life on the earth when looked at in the context of the solar system? Not in terms of some absolute reality or in terms of the universe as a whole, but within this world which we are to some extent able to study. It's necessary to look at that, to realize that calls for a very radical change in the way of looking at things, from either of the two which are current, either the view that all purposes are human, that man himself is the sole creator of purposes, or that all purposes are divine and that God is the sole creator of purposes, and not just a local God of this solar system, but the supreme creator of the whole of this universe, in which this solar system is really so much less than a speck of dust that no comparisons can be given to give one a sense of its smallness. The change in one's attitude here requires that we should accept that there may be purposes connected with the life, the development of the solar system that are very much greater than human, and that therefore we have to adapt ourselves to, whether we like it or not. This is the first answer that Gurdjieff gives to this question: what is the sense and purpose of life on the earth, and in particular of human life? Whenever we see that something is being taken care of, something is being developed on our human level, we do expect to be able to answer the question: why are you doing this? What is this for? When you see things being made, you expect to be given an answer. What is this made for? When you see us human beings taking great care of vast herds of cattle, flocks of sheep, and other animals, and we ask, what are you doing this for? Is it because you're so fond of cows and sheep that you feel that you should spend so much energy in feeding them and preventing them from being destroyed by predators? No, the answer is no. We're taking so much care of them because we want their meat, we want their wool, we want leather from them. If we speak in the same way about mankind and say, what is this mankind being preserved on this earth for? Why has so much been carefully prepared for mankind over hundreds of millions of years? Soil, which enables this vegetation to maintain life. These various minerals that have been concentrated in the earth's surface to enable man to construct all the articles that he uses. And one says, why is this? Is it because some higher power is so fond of man that over hundreds of millions of years this state of existence has been prepared? Supposing that one gives a different answer to that, no, it is not for that reason. It is because something is required from man. Something is required from this human race, analogous to the requirement that we have for meat and wool and leather. That is the answer to which Gurdjieff came. It is an answer that has not been in men's minds for a very long time. Probably the last of the great teachers who taught this view of man was Zoroaster, and that's 2,500 or more years ago. It is implicit in the older Jewish scriptures, if one really reads them impartially, that such an attitude existed in early times. But now this has been quite discarded. The question is, are we to go back to such an ancient view that man exists here to serve a purpose that's not his own? Is he here only to be used for something? Now, when these ideas were first being introduced by Gurdjieff 50 or 60 years ago, they were very strange. And so strange and so shocking that we regarded them as intended only to shock us and to make us sit up and ask ourselves the question, what is my life for? What am I doing with it? And having received this salutary shock, then to go on living our lives, making use of what we had been taught, but to tell the truth, not really seriously facing this question. Are our lives for our own benefit, or do we exist to serve some purpose greater than ourselves? Now, this present time, a short 50 or 60 years since Gurdjieff had introduced these notions to the West, it looks very different. Human purposes are by no means so convincing as they were before. The thought that man is making sense of his own life, and the thought that man is making sense